Hello, everyone. Hi, people. Welcome back to Upside Wealth again. We are on episode 3, and in our last 2 episodes, the first one we did financial stability, the second one we talked about money utility, and today we want to flip it a bit. Mind you, remember we have said consistently that everything that we have in life has a behavioral aspect to it. So myself and Timothy have been discussing the behavioral aspect of finances and money, and we want to take it a notch higher. Yeah. Today we want to talk about something called hedonic adaptation or the hedonic treadmill. And I know for a bit it sounds like some jargon, but we're going to be unpacking that for you. So I want to talk to Timothy today about hedonic adaptation. What does it mean? How does it impact us, and what does it mean for us from a financial perspective? Because over time, as we continue doing these episodes, you're going to realize that there's a behavior aspect to money. Yeah, it's just not out of the blues that you wake up and decide today I'm going to do purchases. Today I'm going to look for the next big thing to buy. Yeah. So there's an explanation to that. And with that said, I want us to just get straight into it. Masharia.
Yes, Jay.
Hi.
Good.
Umekuwa fiti?
Niko salama.
All right.
I hope you too.
I'm good. I'm
And
good.
our listeners.
Yes. I hope you've been good as well. So today we are talking about hedonic adaptation. Please break it down a bit. What does hedonic adaptation mean from a money perspective?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know it sounds like a jargon.
Yes, it does.
But it's a very simplistic thing. Hedonic is a word from Greek. The origin is Greek. In Greek, it is hedonismos, which means pleasure or delight.
Okay.
So when you say hedonic adaptation is the basic English word, adaptation. So it means adapting to pleasure or adapting to delight. That things that you are in pursuit of, that things that creates pleasure. And for us then to conceptualize how it relates to our money, we need to understand one of the greatest evolutionary phenomena, which is adaptation. Charles Darwin is quoted as saying that it is not the greatest of the animals that survives, but the ones that are adaptable to change. So adaptation is an evolutionary ingredient. For evolution to have happened, then those animals needed to adapt.
Yeah.
And those that didn't adapt, then they were discarded by nature.
Yeah.
True. So that is the concept of adaptation. And adaptation is very strong because it inherently helps animals to overcome challenges.
Okay.
Yeah. You can go back to other ages. Right now we are in it's called Holocene age. Before that, we were in the Great Ice Age. And, these were ages that were very cold and a lot of species died. Actually, if you look scientifically, the animals that were there, almost a million possibly species, today possibly we are half of that because a lot of them could not adapt.
Yeah.
Now, how does that relate then to money?
Yes.
It is to say that we don't only adapt to bad things. Yes, adaptation is very great to us because if we are able to adapt, then it's a great phenomenon that causes it to us. But we are not only able to adapt to bad things, the same adaptation also happens to
Good things. Yeah, good experiences.
Yeah. And sometimes what we project to that will create infinite happiness does not. It falls short.
Yeah.
Because the happiness terminates at the point that we achieve that which we are chasing after.
Yeah, true.
And so understanding what we call hedonic adaptation is also understanding a similar name of the same concept called hedonic treadmill. When you're in a treadmill, you're moving, but you're not making any progress.
Very true.
You're tiring, you're sweating, but there's no
physical movement.
There
beyond
is no
where
displacement.
You are.
You're at the same position.
Yeah.
And so it's very good that we avoid being in a hedonic treadmill. To understand that, we need to focus on what we call functional aspect of things. And for you to relate very well, you can look at your life up to now and audit of things that you projected could have created, infinite happiness, but they fell short. As a simple example, anyone can relate when they bought their first car. A car is one thing that thrills a lot.
Well, it does.
And especially in Kenya, where it is also a social class. It's a social status. It's an achievement of a kind. And when you bought your first car, that first feeling, a lot of people actually could not even leave the car outside to go and sleep. You could not imagine that a car is outside and you're sleeping inside.
Yeah.
You usually woke up in between the nights just to check whether is the car still there.
Yeah.
Is it being leaned on? Used to check to go to the mechanic so often. Used to go to the car wash so often. But then what happens if you can audit the thrill on that situation? It can help you interpret future thrills. Because what happens that then every day that passed when we are in possession of that car, the thrill went down
Lower.
and down and down until to a point it could go for a whole month without being taken to the car wash. It could even go mechanically unsound or mechanically wreck, but you're still saying as long as the wheels are rolling, I'm good. So the attachment, the satisfaction somehow fades. And it's because a lot of things we do, Joy, are in pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, true.
You remember what I said? What is hedonic adaptation? It's pursuit of pleasure. Hedonism, it's a pursuit of pleasure. And there is nothing wrong with pursuing pleasure. What is wrong is pursuing pleasure at the expense of what can be sustained.
Yeah.
The cost of pursuit of pleasure does not equate to the thrill, the value that it creates in our lives.
Wow, that's, Timothy, that's quite something, because I think most times than not, before we even think about the thrill after the purchase, there's always a thrill before the purchase. Like the idea actually makes you very happy. So at that point, you don't get to evaluate what you're calling sustainability or how stable does that purchase make you. So even with finances, what you're saying is most times when we're making financial decisions, it's from a point of thrill. It's not from a point of evaluating how is this going then to impact my sustainability, And I like the example you gave, for example, of a car. And let's even move away from a car, because most times you'll hear people saying that sometimes a car is a liability, so it's not a good investment. Let's go to things like when you change jobs. For example, when you're in a new role, it really thrills you in the beginning. Well, probably because it comes with a new title, it comes with new money, it comes with just an acquired state over time. But then the more you stay in that role,
the more you adapt,
the more you're thinking, like, what's the big deal?
I need to move.
Yeah, I need to move. As a matter of fact, for them that are in employment or even in business, sometimes you'll hear someone starts a business and after a while, there's no thrill anymore. So I mean, so you're really saying that hedonic adaptation is just about how we adapt to different things. And you talked about animals, and I know people are just wondering, for example, what do animals have to do with finances? Yes. Yeah. But the truth is, adaptation then means that over time, you're able to evaluate the things that you're doing and what you have been comfortable with. Exactly. Because like you said, the fact that it's not the strongest, it's the same conversation we were having about financial stability, and we were saying it's not the person who has the highest income that then is the most financially stable person. So I want us to really understand the concept of adaptation, like Timothy is saying, that we need to really evaluate ourselves. What am I doing? What are the things that are making me do specific financial, for example, investments, specific financial decisions? What are those things?
It means, Joy,
yeah,
that the alternative way to thinking about this is to say that happiness is mean reverting. Okay. It reverts to the mean. So you see, when you're anticipating about happiness, you project as this permanent state that we live there. But happiness is mean reverting. It terminates at the point you achieve something, because it is a reward mechanism. It has a survival value. That's a reward mechanism to propel us or to initiate us to pursue good things, the ones that are collective and the ones that means good for our survival. But again, what our minds interpret that is like it's a permanent state. So happiness is mean reverting. It tells you today that once you create happiness will go as the more you try to achieve something, and as you achieve bit of it. Let's say you wanted to buy a car. There is a saving part of it that you need to buy a car. So the car costs 2 million shillings. You start saving 100,000, 200,000. And the happiness will continue to be created in your mind because you are on constant motion. Yeah. Until you hit the 2 million and you buy a car and happiness terminates. It will just be there for a while and it terminates. In my area of work, I have interacted with people of different social classes. And especially to the well-to-do, what we call wealthy or rich. And one thing that I've always been curious about is how does it feel to be up there?
Yeah.
How does it feel to be in a situation where whatever you want is there? You don't budget. You don't think, what is the opportunity cost if I use this money versus keeping it? And one of my friends, now he's become my friend, told me something profound. And he told me that the thrill is in anticipation.
Yeah. That's why I said, actually, before they even gives you the thrill after buying,
Exactly.
there's a thrill in the thought.
It is in anticipation.
Yeah.
And what he told me is that we are thrilled by the process.
Yeah.
It is not where we get.
Yeah.
It is not me reaching a particular goal. It is the process that thrills us. And this analogy is so adaptable. If you have ever experienced a flight, the biggest thrill in a flight is takeoff. Because that is where the displacement, the change, the acceleration happens.
Yeah.
But even if you're cruising at maybe 200 kilometers per hour, on the ground from 0 to 200, that is where you feel the real speed.
Yeah.
But when the airplane is up there, traveling at possibly 1,000 kilometers per hour, you don't feel it.
Yeah.
You feel like you're floating because there's no displacement. It is the displacement that you're trying to achieve. What we are saying is that our mind, because we are emotional being and logical, we project things the long way.
Yeah.
So that if you are pursuing something, you are pursuing that thing that it will create happiness, not knowing that happiness is mean liberty. It is not a state you can control.
Yeah.
And so you need to go beyond that thrill and go to what you call functionality. Is it functional?
Yeah.
After the thrill has gone, after the thrill has faded, will it be retaining the intrinsic value of what we had projected? Let's so, for example, of a car. Yeah. As much as we are saying possibility creates a thrill, but it will remain functional. The problem comes with somebody called, and it's very famous in the world of finance, the former Fed chair, Aaron Greenspan, when the market was very irrational, because human beings are irrational, he pronounced a statement that can be very relevant, is even relevant in financial markets today, called irrational exuberance. Where the prices were rallying beyond their fundamental value. And even today is to ask, yes, the car is there, yeah, but it is where the cost outweighs the benefit, the sustainable benefit.
Yeah.
The cost we are looking at, what was the impact of that expenditure to our lives vis-a-vis the value it retained after the happiness has gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get? Let's say, and a lot of things, even into things that are beyond a car, even a home. Yeah? A home is a shelter for all of us. And you will build a home that is suitable to the family. And when you're building the home, you project that home, obviously you'll occupy it for a longer period and your generation will occupy it. But you can go beyond the sheltering value of the home. Where now you're building this multi-mansion house, 10-bedroom house, you're just you and your wife and 2 kids. And it is because sometimes you project that, this happiness will be there forever. It is good at the site when you're inviting friends to come and do housewarming. But beyond that home sometimes becomes burden to us.
Yeah.
And especially you see people, especially in their old age, you are 50 years old, and that is when you're building that mansion. Only for 5 years for your kids to leave the house. And the house is no longer functional.
Yeah.
It is go beyond the thrill and audit what is sustainable beyond the excitement, beyond the thrill. And that's what I appreciate, that the thrill is in anticipation. It is in the planning, the architectural, all that is what creates the thrill. And happiness will terminate at one point. And what we need to then interrogate in our brain is, after the thrill has gone, will it retain the functional value?
And I want to pause you right there, Timothy, because I feel like so many of us, we don't even have time to think through what is the functional value of something I'm buying. So most times I'm not, for example, if I want to buy a car, I'm just thinking the car will get me from wherever I want to go to the next space. That's functional. But then you don't look at the other side of that car. For example, right now having a car, you're looking at things like insurance. So there's a premium that you have to pay. You're looking at, for example, fuel of that car. You're looking at wear and tear of that car. And it's a lot, yeah? So over time, I feel like even as we make financial decisions, very few people or very few of us take time to think through what you're calling the functionality of that thing. And it's something that I feel like because of how maybe we were brought up or because of how we are used to spending money, we rarely take time to evaluate purchases. I mean, I want a new home. I'll move. Yeah, I'll move, and it doesn't matter. And I think also most times are not, we don't sit and take time to think through with what I have right now. Is it functional? Because like you said, we are chasing the thrill of that thing. And I feel like most of our purchases as human beings are actually from a point of, what will it make me feel?
Exactly.
It's not from a point of what will it do to me. It is what will it make me feel? What will it make my friends feel about me? What will it make my kids feel about me as their mother or as their dad? So I think one of the things that Timothy is talking about is actually taking time to evaluate the things that we are doing. Because finances, I think we're so used to what we learn from business studies. It's just a balance sheet of profit and loss. We don't take time to really evaluate the nitty-gritties and the deeper details of what finances is like. Like, for example, I don't think before I started having these conversations, for example, with Timothy, I used to take time and think through, so what is the behavior trait to this purchase? Is it an impulse buy? Is it just being what Timothy calls exuberance, that name that he uses, And over time, I've just had now of late to think through, like, what's the real motive behind buying? What is it that I am trying to satisfy in me? Is it the happiness? Because I've also learned that beyond happiness, there's the reverse side of it.
Exactly.
Sadness. Like, let me give an example. Every time I buy something and I have it for a day or two or a month or a year, and then after a while I feel like, was this even necessary? The feeling that I get at that point is worse and stronger than the feeling I got actually when I bought that thing. Like, what I'm saying is the sadness I feel sometimes, not even sometimes, the sadness I feel is bigger than the happiness
Much
that I
outweighs
felt.
the happiness.
Yes.
It's true. And on that point is that sadness is not mean liberty. So that is why we have to create a balance. You see, when you're chasing happiness and then you overshoot, right? So it has a negative impact on your life in the future. Is that then it will create sadness. The thing with sadness, it is not mean liberty. If not checked, sadness can morph to stress. Stress can proceed to or evolve to depression. And depression, which is a medical condition, can move to something serious, including death.
Yeah.
We have seen people who, depression has led them to death.
Yeah.
And so it is critical to understand what is the sacrifice here and is it sustainable? That word sustainable is good to evaluate things from a more longer term perspective. That this happiness we are trying to create might not be sustainable, but will this that I'm pursuing create a sustainable value for me from that perspective? In the mood of happiness, we are overshadowed because we are more emotional.
Yeah.
And most of the times you don't check yourself. At the decision table, it is the heart that rules, not the head. Meaning that it is the emotions that crowd you, not the reasoning.
Yeah.
And so when you're dealing with emotions, you need to always course correct. Yeah? You need to course correct always and understand, am I being taken too emotional to the fact that then I'm sacrificing what is important to what is urgent from my emotional perspective.
Yeah.
To course correct is very important. It is always to self-doubt and self-check the decisions we are making. Number two, a lot of decisions we are making are not our own. In psychology and philosophy, they say that your mind is not your own. Your mind is a function of the environment you have grown in.
Yeah.
The people you have, what do they have? And so that is always what you're trying to achieve. Because a lot of the things that we are in pursuit, beyond the necessities, are things that will cause others to admire us.
Yeah, true.
It is an admiration you are chasing. Yeah. And when you are chasing this admiration, you don't think to the real cost and the real impact. It can really throw you off balance from your financial perspective.
Yeah.
It is good to interrogate ourselves beyond the happiness, beyond the thrill, to audit, are the decisions still falling within the realm of rationality, within the realm of what is functional and variable to us? Or have we overshoot and now we are in the autopilot of emotions that we are not very keen on how we are making these decisions? I'll tell you something. In a person's life, and even today, beyond absolute poverty, we have something called relative poverty. That you are poor because someone else is rich. You are miserable because someone else is living better.
Yeah.
With the evolution and with the advancement of technology, is that today the spread of what we call like living standards have come down significantly.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that today someone with a salary of 100,000 in terms of quality of life might not be living a life so different to someone with a million shillings.
Yeah. It means it's
Someone
utility. We already
it's
said
utility,
money is
yeah?
not
It's
absolute.
utility.
Yeah.
Someone living in a 3-bedroom house with two kids and a wife, 3-bedroom houses now, is living not so different from someone living in a 10-bedroom house.
Yeah, true.
Because they are the same. You can all afford to pay internet. You can always access Netflix. You can all watch YouTube. You can all have the basics of what is required. It's the same thing that someone with an iPhone is not different from someone, let's say, with techno.
You're getting personal.
It's not personal. It's to say that the lifestyle experience, the spread of the differential in terms of lifestyle standard has shrunk considerably. So today, the feeling of that you're not happy is caused by you projecting that someone else with another thing is more happier.
Yeah. Which is, I think, is an internal thing. It's
an
actually,
internal thing.
Yeah.
It's an evolutionary thing that have evolved in us to always try to be better. But again, some of these evolutionary intrinsic inherent characteristic of a life have lost meaning over time because life is changing too much. It's also the fact that we are also sometimes caged in old models of the way the world operates. Yeah, that today, if you are driving a Range Rover and someone is driving a smaller car, let's say even a Toyota, if you look at the functional aspect of those two cars, it's the same. It's taking from you from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Even a Range Rover with its place cannot somehow get off the traffic or fly at some point where there's traffic. It will still follow the traffic. So we are not saying that desiring better or being ambitious is wrong. We are saying that then it has to create a balance between what are we sacrificing? Are we sacrificing the future? Are we gonna hit, a sad state just because we want to have an immediate happiness?
Well, I think that's an interesting topic, Timothy, you're going into, because number one, the times that we live in, we have this thing of timiolo. You only live once. We have this theme of today is what is guaranteed, kesho itajishughulikia. And I feel like, it's a thing and we laugh about it and we cheer each other on about it. But sometimes I feel like the financial dent that some of those things are making is irreversible. Yeah, it's so crazy that we actually don't sit down to think through what you're saying, and over time, you talked about financial stress, and for me, I must say that it's really becoming a major concern and sad, because again, some of the really serious mental health issues that we are seeing and we are witnessing in the society are as a result of financial indiscipline, financial decisions that were made that have a ripple effect across different aspects of your life. And it's good for us to say that, of course, in personal finance management, there are 5 aspects to it. Of course, there's income, there's savings, we've talked about investments, we've talked about protection. And it's good for us to really think through at what aspect is suffering, because I usually feel that every financial decision that you make has an impact somewhere, whether it's on your income, whether it's on your savings, whether it's on your expenditure, whether it's on your investments, or whether it's on your protection. And you'll find that a place is suffering. So like you're saying, Timothy, I think it's really important for us to really think. And there's a statement that you've just made a few minutes ago that was really hit a nerve in me when you say that you need to think whether you're actually spending the future? Like, are you compromising the future by living what you want today? And I think it's something that we really need to think through. What is the effect of my financial decisions today to my tomorrow? What is the effect of my financial decisions today to the future of my children and my dependents? Because last time we said that we are not loners. Our lives are not our own. We have dependents, we have families, we have spouses, we have children, we have parents that look up to us. And most times than not, I feel like we've also gotten into a society, a place where we are like, me, I'll take care of myself. The rest will take care of themselves. Now, unfortunately, the reason why we are able to say those things right now is because you're there. The minute you exit that scene, your dependents, you're literally leaving them to chance. Yeah. And I know we expect them to adapt to their new lifestyle. But can we do better really from a financial decision perspective? Even for them that don't have children, because you might not have children today, but you'll have children tomorrow. The decisions that you're making today, what will they impact? And I think for me, one of the things that I want to say, for some of us, when we joined employment when we were very young or younger, we didn't have dependents, we didn't have obligations, and we adapted. You know that hedonic adaptation where we adapted to the lifestyle of every Friday, maybe you go somewhere or you travel somewhere or you wear particular types of clothes. Huh? And right now I look back at those things and I keep making fun with my friends. I keep telling them that sometimes I feel like some of the clothes that I bought when I was younger, if I could sell them, I would literally start a business. And of course, over time, the value of money has changed. So also, probably had I kept that money right now with the current interest rates that we are seeing, I would have made a kill out of it. So, I mean, it's important for us to look at what have I adapted into.
Now, you see, you talked about euro. I was in a financial literacy forum some weeks ago. And one of my friends, it's called Robert, spoke something that is very profound. He said that euro, as you think about euro, think about yo-yo. You are on your own. You are on your own. Finances have no emotions. It's either you have money
or you don't,
or you not. It's not a question whether you have you love your family or you love your wife or you love your parents. Yeah. It's whether you have money or not.
Yeah.
So most of the times you'll find people in the streets accusing others that when they were in need, they were left alone. Because you're on your own. Always think about those people that you're trying to endear, to admire you. They'll admire you. We will come and we will do a housewarming. We'll come and, drive that Range Rover and go to a road trip. But it is only enjoyable if it's sustainable. But if it hits back, if you did not make rational, sustainable decisions, and all time now you're in financial problems, you should not accuse anyone of leaving you behind. Yeah. Because you are on your own and money has no emotions.
You have
money is a mathematical issue. It's a 1 + 1 is 2. Do you have 100,000 to take your family to Diani?
Yes or no?
It's not a question of whether you love your family. Love will not supplement the money. It's a question of whether you have the money. Yeah. And so sometimes even people have brought accusation to their partners that they were left whereas they had spent money on them. It's the way life works. Your partners will leave you. And actually, for you to then project what you're talking about, even from a practical point of view, there is a very famous quote that is often said by priests when they are unionizing marriages, that they lived happily ever after.
Ever after.
For the singles, they might not understand the depth of that statement, and everyone looks towards that, and there is nothing wrong with that. But I want you to audit people or to question people who are already married and ask them whether that statement was it sustainable? Did it live to its meaning?
Yeah.
Because you could ask then, why are there divorces? Why are there conflicts? Because our projection of that partner you're holding needs to go beyond you being excited when you're around them.
Beyond the honeymoon stage.
Beyond the honeymoon, beyond the smiles, and ask, are we compatible? And can we live with this person for another 10 years? You need to ask the things I compromise, are they sustainable? Or will I tire in another 3-4 years?
Yeah.
That is the real cost of that. So that you go beyond beauty, you go beyond smile, you go beyond the vibe that you have together, and ask, can I somehow live with this person for the foreseeable future.
And
If
this-
it is 50 years, I still look at you and you have wrinkles and I love you. Because that is something deeper, intrinsic. And so even the things and the actions we take in life, as far as finances are concerned, we need still to ask that questions. Beyond friends telling me I bought a new car, beyond friends telling me I need to move to a new neighborhood, beyond them admiring me, will that thing be sustainable even after all the 3? Because we cannot tell you your car is new even after 3 years. It will be new to us the first 2 months.
Someone else will have a new car.
Someone else will have a new car and a new model, and you'll forget. So what was the cost? What did you sacrifice to get that car? And what is the price that because you always have the price to pay. Was the price so steep? I talked about irrational exuberance. It is when the emotions take control that the price you're paying far outweighs the benefit. And you need to ask that question.
I think from what you've said, Timothy, one of the things that I would want to put out there as a statement that I have gotten from what you have just said is you really need to think through and ask yourself, am I able to live with the consequences of the financial decisions that I make? Because you've given an example of marriage, and it's a decision you make, and you have to constantly wake up and face your decision. So even in finances, you need to ask yourself, am I able to live with the consequences of the financial decisions that I make? Because most times than not, we are very myopic and become very short-sighted. We look at right now, and don't take time to think through tomorrow. What does this mean for my tomorrow? What does this mean, for example, for my income? And last time when we were talking about utility of money, I think Timothy really insisted on us being able to look at what am I able to sustain on a long-term basis, yeah? What am I able to continue doing? For example, he said that if you do an upgrade, then it should not outdo your income or headroom that you've gotten. So it's the same thing. Take time and really think through it and ask yourself the decisions that I have made so far, because unfortunately, what is done is done. Yeah? The decisions that I have made so far, am I able to live with the consequences of those decisions? And then if you're in the process of making, for example, a financial investment or allocate funds somewhere, are you able to live with the consequences that come with allocating that money? It might not just be spending. It could even be borrowing. Yeah, because sometimes when you talk about finances, people just think about spending expenses. What about borrowing? The financial decisions you decide to make today on matters borrowing, are you able to really live through with the consequences of it? Timothy last time talked about people who are digging holes when you're already in one, and it's just getting deeper and deeper. And in our subsequent episodes, you're going to see us even talk about things like debt management. If you're already in debt, how do you come out of it? How do you deal with it? Because it can spiral, like Timothy says, so much. Yes.
And on that, you need to understand and how our minds work. Yeah, our minds and our brains, always want to be admired and felt, we are at the top. But sometimes I usually say that it is not too late to course correct. You made, and because the decisions we made are a little bit, they are not rational. They were a little bit driven by happiness. And then at some point we will settle. But those decisions and experiences are a bit sticky in our brains. And sometimes we feel very painful to accept that we were wrong.
Yeah.
Did you decide to do something? It is not too late to course correct.
Yeah.
You need just to overcome the revulsion that people will talk. That people will notice change. And there is nothing absolute with that. Remember, you are on your own. So those decisions are yours. When you have decided, when you realize that you made an irrational, emotional decision, don't stick with it. I know those decisions are sticky because even to ourselves, we don't want to accept that we did a mistake, but it is not very late to course correct. The anxiety sometimes you feel because of those decisions are signaling you that you did something wrong and you need to take action. But taking action is also painful because it is admitting we did wrong. A lot of people today, the only assets they have are their homes. They retire with their homes, and what? You can't eat your home. 10-bedroom house will not provide you supper. The car you drive, sometimes you have a car you can't even fuel or pay insurance.
Yeah.
It is not very late to overcome the revulsion of downgrading so that you can cost collect, so that then you can take the light route. And that one is a self-conversation. And always reminding you're on your own. Forget even about your partner, even your parents, even your friends, even your siblings.
Yeah.
They are not with you. So those decisions have to be very personal. And understanding that, yes, I made this decision. It was out of the excitement of the moment.
Yeah.
And I can as well undo it and still be okay.
Yeah, true. And it's never too late.
Let the stickness not drive you to still remaining in the hole.
Yeah.
Please think about how you can get out of it, because before things have run out of control.
Yeah.
Even if it is 1 year. Yes, you moved in a good neighborhood. You bought a new car. People have seen you around with it. Even if you appeared in another smaller car, they'll not beat you up.
Yeah.
It is telling them that, situations change in life and we need to adjust with it. That ability, remember what I said, adaptation. Having the will and ability to adapt, especially to that bad thing, is a life-changing characteristic or ability. A psychologist called Angela Duckworth recently wrote a book, and I'll advise a lot of people to read, called Grit. And she was trying to test what makes people successful. And she talked about two things, passion and perseverance. You know what is, underlying the second one, perseverance. You know what is perseverance?
Being resilient.
It's being resilient.
Yeah.
Being adaptable to the new condition and situations. That is what will prepare you. It's not your intelligence. And she did a study. She interviewed people in different environment and background. And her question was, if this person is successful in this environment, what made them successful? And realize it's perseverance. So even yourself, when you are course correcting, you need to have that muscle. Activate your perseverance muscle. Persevering that people will perceive you or see you have changed. It's no problem. Persevering that people will talk that you are not sustaining your life, and persevering the fact that people will talk about you downgrading. It's fine. If you can persevere that, then you have one of the greatest abilities to become anything you want in life. Taking those dips, taking regrets head on. That yes, this decision is me who made it, and I can do it myself.
Thank you, Timothy. And that's what I was calling being able to live with the consequences of your decisions. And even as we come to the end of this episode, for me, I think my take home is just I need to take time and course correct. Because I'm sure so many of us have financial decisions that we have made along the way that are impacting us, that if we are not keen enough to correct it right now, is going to have some crazy effects even to generations to come. So for you who is watching us and you have issues or financial issues that you've gotten into, please take time and course correct like Timothy is talking about it. But more, what is more important to all of us, even as we listen to this podcast, ask yourself, what is that thing that you've adopted to or have adapted to? And you know very well, it's just a thrill. What are those purchases that you make or continue to make? And you know very well, the motivation or the force that is pushing you is just a thrill. Like Timothy said, happiness is very reverting. So think through that statement. Just sit down. And we've been talking about just being intentional about financial decisions, being intentional about questioning the decisions that you've made. Look at what you've done that was just to chase happiness. Because so many of us are stuck in that loop. It's a treadmill, like Timothy said. You're moving, but you're not making any progress. Look at those things and ask yourself, then where do I start? What do I need to change? So until the next episode, thank you so much. Please continue giving us feedback, share the same, have conversation even when you meet with your groups, with your friends, and let's see where we take this conversation. So until next time, see you then. Thank you.